Gender and drag, is it all a performance?
Are our clothes just a drag? Because men wear on the whole trousers and women on the whole wear skirts, and of course women wear jeans and trousers. I'm not saying they don't, but it's less likely you'll see David Cameron in a dress giving, but you'll see, Theresa May in a pantsuit, for instance. So what was the question? Is it all a performance? Is it just a nurture nature?
I think it's entirely driven by society, and it also varies according to the years. Because if you go back to, say, the 18th century, the 17th century, it's quite normal for men to wear perfume and wear pearls and generally dress up. And
now,
it's
called
more
Boss
so now, but
it's still smelly.
Yeah. And a lot of the clothes men were wearing back in, say, the 17th century, they'd be considered incredibly camp now. And unacceptable for the most part.
Oh, the lacy frills on the cuffs and everything. Yes, that's true.
Silver buckles on the shoes.
Yes, and the powdered wigs.
Yep. I do think women and men have a very unfair advantage because it's pretty.
What's what Eddie is?
It's pretty blah and bland, isn't it? What men, if we look at the scope that women have, and then compared to what men have, it's pretty basic.
Pinstripe suit and black shoes.
It's very basic, isn't it? So there's not much room for expression. That's why I think women are very lucky in that respect that they can.
They are. I'm incredibly envious of women.
Oh, yeah, totally.
It's incredible how limited we are compared to women. I just hope that it changes eventually.
You look so good in that, Laura Ashley.
I'd love to wear a dress actually for a time, just to see myself. I think it'd be amazing.
But why? That's an interesting thing.
Oh, it's self-expression, isn't it?
What are you expressing? Your feminine side?
I don't like putting it into sort of compartments like that. I think it's just the joy of colours and fashion and design, and why is so many of the choices restricted to women and not men? Seems a very artificial distinction.
Yeah. But back to I just had to remember my question. Yeah. Gender and drag is innate. There are it seems to be, no, not a lot of people, because that has changed. People used to think about gay men a long time ago that we wanted to dress up as our mothers and kind of want to be a girl, and that's kind of changed for a lot of people. Yes. There was that, there was that. But the reality is, there's a difference between drag, as in going to see Dave Lynn or other great drag artists, who's Lily Savage,
professional entertainer,
basically. Yes. And the man who wants to put on women's clothes or be a woman, the transvestite or the cross-dresser, which is usually, on the whole, heterosexual men.
It is, and it's usually done behind closed doors.
Yes. So what are they expressing there? Is it the fact they just want to wear the Laura Ashley dress because it gives them a chance to kind of be expressive and be more in contact with their feminine side? I know you don't like that word, but just
no, I don't mind that at all. I
think for most men that do cross-dress, most straight men that cross-dress, it's a release.
Yeah.
Because they're in this macho world. It's all het up. Everything's building up inside, and to actually be able to have that release, put those female clothes on and just go, pooh.
Quite sad, isn't it?
And it's the only way they can do it, because they don't have no other outlet. It's their release, their way of getting out of that macho.
But keep
everything in.
Is it also sexual? Because I do wonder how does it move into the realm of sort of sexual fetishism as well?
Yes.
In the same way that some blokes want to wear a nappy.
Yes.
Is it that? Is it part of that as well?
But for most cross dressers, it's not about sex. It's just about feeling comfortable as they are at that time.
Why not have a bath? Why specifically dress up in women's clothes, perhaps put on makeup?
Just have a bath.
No, why not have a bath if you want to relax?
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? There's got to be something more than just. It's got whatever that release is, or whatever that. I don't know.
So do you think that's kind of why, as gay men, that we're more comfortable with the humour side of the divas? Back to the other question, because we're more comfortable with that side of our makeup as human beings, where straight men, heterosexual men, are not allowed to be like that.
It's frowned upon. Yes.
You got something like Grayson Perry, who is, and he's incredibly popular, and he's got a programme, hasn't he, on TV I haven't seen. And people don't bat an eyelid.
But he's an artist, isn't he? He lives the world that he lives in, the people that he's surrounded by.
He's
in a very Grayson Perry. He lives in a world. He's surrounded by people where it's going to be completely acceptable. I remember went to this sort of not name dropping, but he went to this opening of this gallery, and he was there, and people didn't bat an eyelid. If he'd been standing in Churchill Square, I think the reaction might be different. I do think he lives in a bit of a bubble, doesn't he?
I think maybe more to that. It may be that because people can compartmentalise him into the artistic field.
It's kind of
that's
safe.
okay.
Yes.
maybe that's why drag and drag queens have been so acceptable for so long. I mean, even in the East End in pubs, I mean, going back to the last century, drag queens have been really, really popular. And maybe that's it, because people say that's an entertainer, that's separate from us, it doesn't impinge on us. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm interested to know why it seems to be almost uniquely an English thing, this cross-dressing. I mean, the Americans think it's really bizarre, when you talk about it, and it doesn't seem to exist on the continent. And I just wonder why historically it's been so popular and so accepted in this country, what it is about our culture.
To be honest.
It doesn't, in mainland Europe it's not as...
No, definitely not. It's
you go to Asia though, but in terms of Europe, I think it's definitely, we definitely are.
We are, yeah.
I do get a little bit uncomfortable with it really nowadays. I know it's all good fun, and it's all camp and blah blah blah, but I don't know.
What's getting under your skin?
I don't know. Is it a bit offensive to women that a man can just slap up on a bit of makeup on a dress for comedy value and go on the stage and not really do anything really other than lip sync, but that's enough to be a woman? And I know it's not a man trying to be a woman, but is there something a bit cheap about it?
There is something a bit cheap about that side of it, but there are the entertainers and the people that kind of do a character and
really sing.
Dame Edna is an obvious example, really.
She was always a comedian though, but it was always a comedian.
Still a drag act, it's a man in a dress.
I'd like to think it was a bit more sophisticated though than your average sort of drag queen in a pub on a Sunday afternoon.
Lip syncing definitely, but my point is that he's still a drag actor and is an act, is an entertainer, as you were saying. Yeah. Lily Savage.
I mean, to me as a gay man, I mean, growing up, drag was really offensive, because to me that was, for me as a gay man, a gay boy, in the 60s or even late 50s, the only possible visual experience of anybody who was gay was somebody in drag, and that was being effeminate and anti-masculine and silly and bitchy, and that was supposed to be my role model as a gay man. And I found to some extent, I'm much more relaxed about it now, of course, but I still find that quite offensive in a way, and I think it is a shame. I think it's different now. I mean, you've got the gay ministers and gay priests and so on, but those days I think it made things more difficult for being gay.
Do you think there's a difference between drag, though, and cross-dressing?
Yeah, well, I think cross-dressing wasn't visual, wasn't out in the open at that time.
But drag tends to be a gay man's thing, whereas cross-dressing tends to be a heterosexual man's thing.
Yes, I agree. Yes, that's right. Yes, you can't throw that criticism at cross-dressing.
No,
and it wasn't around anyway when I was growing up as a young gay man.
No, but drag as is a gay man's thing. You don't get straight men putting on women's clothes.
Well, drag. Yes, you do. Yeah, drop of a hat.
Yeah. Straight boys love dressing up as women.
They do on a regular basis. They'll only do that
when they're pissed on a stag night. Yeah.
You give a bunch of squaddies. You give a bunch of squaddies a wardrobe of women's clothes, and they'll be in them in a shot. I can tell you.
Well, that's as maybe. I don't know.
A couple of pints.
Yeah, what's that about?
I know it is. Or footballers having sex with two prostitutes at the same time. Two footballers having sex with the same woman. I mean, what's all that about? It's always, they're supposed to be really,
That's not just footballers, that's just in general, though.
Well, no, it seems to be a sort of, favourite wactivity by them, and what's that about? Two
male bonding.
Yeah. Oh, well, not gay, they're not gay,
But they're not having sex with each other, though, are they?
Well, they're only about that far away from each other.
Oh, you mean double penetration?
Yes, and that's very, you hear a lot about that. And... anyway.
You hear a lot about that.
I read about it.
It depends on where you're doing your research.
Yeah, it's very well.
Made us all fluster.